House 3, also known as The Horror Show, flips the script on the House movies. While the previous two movies were horror comedies about a house that travels dimensions, this one is more of a pure horror movie, just sprinkled with some comedic moments. And its focus is much less on the house and more about the ghost that haunts it and the family who live inside. The mass murderer ghost guy is absolutely fantastic. He's a character that completely takes over every scene that he's in, and his line deliveries are somehow both really funny while also being incredibly malicious. This movie's actually quite good, so if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's watch House, the Horror Show. The movie opens with Detective Lucas McCarthy waking up to a strange noise in the middle of the night. He grabs his gun and heads downstairs to investigate. When he goes into the basement, the furnace door opens by itself, and for some reason, this gets Lucas thinking about a recent case. He and his partner Casey track down a criminal wanted for multiple murders. They split up to surround the building, and when Lucas goes inside, he finds a grisly scene full of blood and disembodied cops. He tries to call Casey on the radio, but gets no answer, so he rushes back inside to find him. After a few minutes, Lucas finds him dangling in chains and mortally wounded.
I did the best I could. I know, buddy, I know. I was scared. I did the best.
Now solo, Lucas continues his search, but he's blindsided by the mass murderer, Meat Cleaver Max. Max has taken a little girl hostage and forces Lucas to drop his weapon.
Right here, where we get to show each other what we got.
Max ends up chopping the little girl's head off anyway, causing Lucas to wake up from a nightmare, only to enter another nightmare.
I thought you were dead.
When he wakes up again and officially, we learn that this is the day that Meat Cleaver Max has been sentenced to death. Lucas goes to attend the sentencing, hoping that seeing the murderer die will put an end to his nightmares.
Glad you could make it, cop.
Things don't go as planned. As Max is shocked, he refuses to die, forcing the executioner to continually raise the voltage.
Yeah, raise the voltage, shithead!
Eventually, his skin starts to bubble and rip apart, but he's still able to rip himself out of the electric chair and stumble toward Lucas for his final words.
Lucas, I'm gonna tear your world apart. Coming back to you up.
He finally falls and is pronounced dead, totally putting an end to the reign of Meat Cleaver Max. Just kidding, because when a professor named Peter Campbell goes in to study the dead body, a ghostly wind blows through the morgue, followed by an electrical poltergeist that rises from Max's corpse and flies away. Moments later, an electrical surge happens in Lucas's house, so Max's reign of terror is only just beginning. At the house, we also meet Lucas's family with his wife Donna, his son Scott, and his daughter Bonnie. Peter meets Lucas in the parking lot to try and warn him. He says that Lucas is Max's link to life, and that he's coming back to haunt him, but Lucas obviously doesn't believe Peter, and he drives home as quick as he can. At the house, we learn that Donna and Lucas will be going out to dinner for a date tonight, and then Bonnie's boyfriend Vinny jump scares her in the basement. Bonnie tells him that he'll have to wait in the basement until the parents leave, so I'm sure he's gonna be just fine.
This is just the beginning.
Lucas and Donna head out to dinner, and a few minutes later, Vinny starts to hear someone call his name. It sounds like Bonnie, so he starts to play along and unbutton his shirt all sexy like, but then Max steps out from behind a pillar, and we get this little gem.
I love you.
Vinny, do it for me.
Max takes out Vinny with a few chops of his cleaver. And a bit later, Bonnie comes down for her boyfriend, but all she finds is an empty basement. The next day, the family sits down for a lovely turkey lunch. Everything's going well until Lucas starts to hallucinate.
Don't look now, cub, but your family's dead.
They were. And you did. They were really huge. Don't you remember?
Just kidding.
After lunch, his hallucinations continue as he sees Max on a TV show. He ends up pulling out his gun and shooting the television in front of his family. He goes to a psychiatrist for help, and the doctor ends up telling him to go to Max's apartment to try and get some closure. At the apartment, Lucas finds that Max had a hidden wall covered in pictures of his family. Peter shows up again and says that he's trying to help Lucas because he knows that he's not going crazy.
Max Janke is not dead.
No.
The electrocution, it allowed him to move from the material plane.
Peter says that he's been studying the science behind pure evil and has a theory that evil itself can take the form of electricity. He says that the only thing that can interact with that evil form of electricity is electricity itself. So if Lucas wants to stop Max once and for all, he'll need to hit him with some kind of electricity and bring his evil form back to the material world. At the house, Bonnie heads back to the basement to search for clues as to where Vinny could be. She finds his wallet on the furnace, but when she goes to search a nearby cabinet, Vinny's body falls onto her. The previous morning she heard her father shouting in the basement, so this gets her thinking that he had found Vinny and murdered him. Lucas gets home and sees police cars in front of the house. Of course, everyone thinks that he's the one behind Vinny's death, so the cops arrest him on the spot. At the same time, we see Peter back at Max's apartment running some experiments, only to have his theorizing interrupted when Max shows up and chops off his head. While Lucas is being interrogated, Max makes his move. He finally shows his face when he grabs Scott and Bonnie. Then, he lures Donna out of her room with an apparition of a little girl, before grabbing her too. Lucas seems to sense that his family is in danger, so he makes a move to escape. He punches the interrogator and steals his car to get home. He rushes inside and finds Scott dead on his bed. He then runs into Bonnie's room and finds her begging him for help. She removes her covers to show a bloated belly, distending with the face of Max. Seeing this, Lucas's chest starts to throb and split, causing him to stumble out of the room and fall down the stairs. He can hear Max laughing from all around him, but the pain causes him to pass out. Just as a note, in order to get this movie to an R rating, they had to remove quite a few scenes. Apparently one of these scenes happened just as Lucas's chest split. Instead of just breaking into a nasty gash, originally they had his heart fully on display, beating and spewing with blood, but they had to remove it so that they could make the rating that they wanted. When Lucas wakes up, he sees Scott and Bonnie sitting at the dining table. They tell him that Max has Donna held hostage in the basement, and a moment later, the kids disappear. Lucas heads into the basement and starts fighting with the furnace, but somehow the furnace comes out on top. Lightning flashes and Lucas finds himself in the diner that we saw in his dream near the beginning. He runs to where he faced off with Max before he sees the murderer dragging his wife away. He gives chase and enters a room to see Donna being hanged, but when he runs to help, she suddenly disintegrates and becomes a rotted corpse. Lucas can still hear Donna screaming, so he knows that she's still alive, and then suddenly Max appears behind him and knocks him to the floor. Lucas demands Max let his wife go, offering himself in her place, but Max just laughs, knowing that he holds all the power.
Why don't you crawl over here and lick my boots?
Donna then makes a move and smacks Max, giving her a chance to escape, and Lucas rushes at him right then. The two brawl, but Max has the upper hand. He charges at Lucas for a final blow, but Lucas is able to throw him over the railing. This doesn't kill Max, however, but it does give Lucas and Donna a chance to escape. They run through the facility, finding themselves inside of a power plant. Lucas is able to bait Max into attacking, which causes the man's meat cleaver to slice into a wire and begin to shock him. All of this electricity is just what Lucas needed, as the world suddenly flashes again and they find themselves back in Lucas's house, and once again in the material plane. Lucas raises his gun and shoots Max until he's out of bullets and the mass murderer is dead. Again. We cut to some time later to see that the family has sold the house and are moving out. We also see that Scott and Bonnie are alive, so I guess Max didn't kill either one of them, but I'm not really sure if that was real or not. I don't know if it was all just Lucas having hallucinations or if they all remember that it actually happened. It's kind of just unclear. But anyway, that's where this movie ends. Overall, I really like this movie. All of my issues with it are kind of just at the end there. A lot of those things that needed a little bit of clarity. Like, are the cops going to be after Lucas or not? Is Vinny actually dead? Because no one else that Max killed actually ended up dead. But is Vinny still dead? Because if Vinny is still dead, then Lucas is definitely still wanted by the cops, right? Like, I don't know what was a hallucination and what was actually happening, or if by destroying Max one final time, if that erased the timeline where apparently Lucas got in trouble with the cops. I really don't know. Also, it's not really an issue. I just really wish we could see the entire movie as the director originally had it. There's not a copy out there that has all of those scenes that got taken out put back in. It just doesn't exist anymore. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I think it'd be really cool to see this movie in its original format. Like, what are we missing? What scenes did they have that kind of put everything together? Or what cool practical effect work are we missing out on? We'll never know. But regardless, the movie that we got was pretty good. I really love Max. I think the dynamic between Max and Lucas was also pretty interesting to watch and actually fairly well done. And the practical effect work was really fun and kind of funny every time it showed up. Also, the cat ended up living at the end, which is really great. I know I didn't talk about the cat dying in the middle of the movie, but talking about dead cats makes me sad. Okay, so I don't want to talk about dead cats, but it ended up living, and that made me really happy. But overall, I think this movie was a lot of fun to watch. It did have its issues, but it definitely won me over in the end. I'm going to give it a solid 3 out of 5 and definitely recommend that you guys give it a watch. And that's it. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, a huge thanks to my YouTube members. Thank you guys so much for the extra support. I love you. If there's a movie out there that you guys would recommend I do, don't forget to put that down in the comments below. And until next time, keep your meat cleaver sharp and your turkey sentient. Bye-bye.
You seem to me to be a very honest and straightforward individual. I'm a drunk pimp.